So hello guys and welcome back to another of our classes about learning Excel for data analysis. So in today's class we are really gonna talk about data analysis since it's very important to understand what is data analysis before going to our Excel part. So let's start. So very simple. The first thing we're gonna see is what is the definition of data analysis and what is it exactly. So basically data analysis we can see it as a process of collecting data, organizing all this data in a manner where someone can draw a conclusion with all this. There are a lot of techniques that can be used to collect data. For example, you can make surveys, you can make calls. There are a lot of ways to collect data, but this course is really based on is really for analyzing all this data. So this is the definition that I told you is really the raw definition. How I personally see it is, imagine you have a lot of raw data. Let's say you have data 500,000 files, 500,000 names, email addresses, ages, and I don't know, credit cards, and a lot of other stuff about, let's say, 500,000 people. So you'll take all this raw data that is here. You can't really use it because it's just raw, and you will transform it. For example, you will be able, with all this data, you will be able to find out what is the median, let's say, income of a household of all those people. You will be able, for example, to find out, let's say you take all this raw data once again, you will be able to find out what is the average income of everyone. You will see what is the average age of everyone, for example. You'll see what is the average education, for example, of all those people. What is the sector where everyone is working from all those people. Seeing, for example, what is the sector where all those people are working and that has the highest income. And all this, you will be able to do it just with raw data. So imagine you are cooking food, for example. It's the exact same thing. You have raw food. You can't necessarily eat it. For example, you have, you have a fish that is not cooked. You can't necessarily just take the raw fish and eat the fish. But when you cook the fish and everything is ready, you will be able to eat it. It's the same thing with the data analysis. At first, you have raw data, you have a huge amount of data, and you have to transform all this data, make your analysis, and then you will have results, and you will be able to interpret to make an interpretation of those results and present them. So as I said, the purpose of all this, the purpose of data analysis, it's, what is it exactly? It's let's say it this way. It's answering complex questions with data. So for example, let's say I'm looking for the perfect consumer for a product X. So let's say I'm selling t-shirts, and I want to find out what type of consumer is perfect for my product X. So what will I do? For example, I'm using Facebook ads. I will make ads for let's say a lot of categories of people, and the category that buys the most this t-shirt or that clicks on my ad, I will theoretically say that this is the category that is the most interested in my product. So once again, what I did here, what exactly I did, it's basic data analysis. I went to look for data, so I made my ads, and the people who clicked on my ads, let's say the branch of people that clicked on on those ads will be in the category of people who are interested by my product. So this way I will find out my niche of people who are interested in my product, and I will be able to target more my ads. It's the same thing for data analysis. I have a problem. Let's say my problem is, once again, it's finding the right consumer for my product. So how will I find out who is the right consumer for my product? So what will I do? I will take a huge amount of data. So for example, I will look at incomes of people. So what type of a person with what income will be able to buy my product. Once again, it's just an example. And collect all this and be able to answer to my initial question, which is what is the category of people who will be able to buy, let's say, my product. So how do we perform a data analysis? So when you want to perform data analysis, the first thing you want to do is set up your goal or set up the objective. So let's say, for example, my goal will be to find out the perfect consumer for my product. Then deciding how I will analyze the data. So in this part, I will create my analysis plan. So I will say what type of things I will use. For example, I will use Excel or any other tool. In this case, we are gonna talk about Excel, but you will choose the tool that you want to use. Then you will collect your data. Here, as I said, you can make surveys. The most popular or the most common way to collect data will be through surveys. So you send surveys to people. If you're in, let's say, marketing or whatever, you can try some ads on a small amount of the population. For example, you want to target the people who are aged from 18 to, let's say, 25. Then you will make another ad for people who are aged from 25 to 30. And this way you will find out who are the more interested in your product. Then when you did all this data collection, you will analyze the data. And usually when all this is done, well, you have your results. And with those results, you can go further and use those results and optimize what you want to do. Or B, if you didn't had the results that you wanted, well, you can just do another data analysis and you will do the exact same thing, but you will be one step ahead because well, you did your first data analysis. So what are the types of data analysis that exist? There are a lot of data analysis types that exist. Personally, I know only 3, but in this course we're gonna talk only about the descriptive and the predictive one. So the exploratory is really to explore, let's say, a certain field or whatever. So for the two first, those that we will use in this course, the descriptive is really to describe something. Let's say we have a huge database. In this database, we want to describe, for example, we want to see who is, what is the average age of this database or of this population. So this is a descriptive data analysis. We want to find out what is the average income of this population. We want to find out, I don't know, how much cars in average this population has, or any other question related to, let's say, a certain population. Predictive, in this case, for example, we want to predict what will be the value of a certain stock. For example, we're in a stock market and we want to predict the value of a certain stock. Well, here we will use the predictive data analysis. So what we will do, we'll use different models of data analysis, well, different ways to analyze data to predict, let's say, the value of a certain stock or a bond or whatever. So the way we will do this is you will need to have a lot of logical thinking. You will need really to think outside of the box, because once again, when you have a lot of data, there is not only one way you can use it. There are hundreds of different ways that you can use data and manipulate it. And it's really, you will really need to find out a way to manipulate this data to answer your first question, which is in data analysis, your goal. So you have your goal, and you'll need to use all this data that you have to answer to the initial question, which is your goal, to answer to your goal. So that's it for this course, guys. So right now you should have a certain idea of what is data analysis. Once again, this course will really be focused on descriptive and predictive data analysis, and in the app will just work with the data. So that's it for this course, and see you all in our next class.